There is a specific feeling that nobody really talks about. It is not failure, you have not failed. It is not laziness, you work, you try, you think about it constantly. It is something quieter than that, something harder to name. You wake up, go through the day, come back home, and somewhere in the middle of it all, you feel like you are running on a treadmill, moving but not going anywhere. And the strangest part, you cannot explain why. You had a plan once, maybe you still do, but somewhere along the way, the plan stopped feeling like yours. It started feeling like something you inherited from your parents, from your education, from what people expected of you. And now you sit with this quiet unease, not loud enough to call a crisis, not small enough to ignore. You scroll through other people's careers and feel something you do not want to admit. Not quite jealousy, more like confusion. Why does their path look so clear and yours feels like fog? You tell yourself to be grateful, you remind yourself of people who have it worse, and for about 10 minutes it works. Then the feeling comes back. Here's what most career advice misses entirely. This is not a productivity problem. It is not a mindset problem. It is not even a career problem. It is a signal, and your brain has been sending it for a reason. In psychology, there's a concept called self-discrepancy theory, developed by psychologist E. Torrey Higgins in 1987. The theory says your mind holds three versions of you at the same time: the actual self, who you are right now; the ideal self, who you deeply want to become; the ought self, who you believe you are supposed to be. When these three versions are in conflict, the brain does not stay neutral. It generates a specific emotional response. When your actual self is far from your ideal self, you feel sadness, emptiness, and a loss of motivation. When your actual self is far from your ought self, you feel anxiety, guilt, and fear. Most people who feel stuck are not just dealing with one of these gaps, they are caught between both. You feel guilty because you are not where you think you should be, and you feel empty because the place you are heading doesn't feel like it belongs to you. The brain experiences this as a low-grade chronic tension, not dramatic, just heavy. But here's what I want you to understand before we go further. This is not a character flaw. The fact that you feel stuck does not mean you are weak or confused or lost. It means your brain is doing something intelligent. It is comparing, it is evaluating, it is refusing to let you settle into something that doesn't align with your deeper values. Psychologists call this self-incongruence, the state where your daily actions are disconnected from your core internal values. And when value incongruence is high, the brain's anterior cingulate cortex, the region responsible for detecting conflict, stays in a low state of activation. It keeps sending quiet error signals, not panic, just persistent discomfort. That discomfort is not your enemy. It's a compass that has been trying to speak, and you have been too busy surviving to listen. Now let's go deeper into the mechanism, because this is where it gets interesting. Think of your brain as a prediction machine. At every moment, your brain is not just experiencing reality, it is predicting what should happen next based on your past experiences and what you believe is possible for you. When your career does not match your internal prediction of where you should be, not society's prediction, yours, a signal fires called a prediction error. In small amounts, prediction errors are motivating. They push you toward change. But when the gap is too large, when the distance between where you are and where you sense you could be feels enormous and unclear, the brain does not respond with energy. It responds with shutdown. This is called learned helplessness, a term coined by psychologist Martin Seligman. When the brain repeatedly tries to change something and fails, or when the path forward is too unclear to even attempt, it stops generating motivation entirely. It is not laziness, it's neuroscience. The brain is conserving energy for threats, and unclear, unresolvable futures register as a kind of threat. Think of it like a GPS with no signal. The car doesn't drive in the wrong direction. It just stops. It waits. It recalculates. You are not broken. You are recalculating. So what do you actually do? Not 10 habits, not a productivity system, 5 grounded principles, each one tied directly to how your brain actually changes. The first principle is identify which gap is making you stuck. Go back to the 3 cells. Take a piece of paper and write this down. On one side, write who you think you should be, the ought self, shaped by others' expectations. On the other side, write who you actually want to become, the ideal self, shaped by your own values. Now look at which one you've been chasing. Most people are exhausted because they've been running towards someone else's finish line. The brain cannot sustain motivation for goals it doesn't genuinely care about. The dopamine system, specifically the nucleus accumbens, responds most strongly to goals that are personally meaningful, not socially approved. When you identify which gap is driving your stuckness, you stop fighting a battle with no name. The second principle is shrink the path, not the goal. The reason the brain shuts down is not always the goal, it's the distance. When a goal feels too far, the prefrontal cortex, which handles planning and future thinking, actually reduces its engagement. It essentially says, too uncertain, step back. The fix is not to lower your ambition, it's to reduce the cognitive distance between now and the next step. Instead of asking, where do I want to be in 5 years, ask, what is one thing I could do this week that the version of me I want to become would do? One action, concrete, small, achievable within days. This is how you reactivate the brain's dopamine loop, not through massive leaps, but through small wins that prove the path is real. The third principle is audit your identity, not just your actions. Psychologist James Clear and researcher Wendy Wood both found the same thing independently. Behavior does not change when you change your habits. It changes when you change how you see yourself. If you see yourself as someone who is stuck, every action will be filtered through that lens. The brain uses identity as a shortcut. It asks not what should I do, but what does someone like me do? So the work is not just external, it is internal. Ask yourself, what small daily behavior reflects the person I want to become? And then do that behavior not for the result, but because it is evidence of a new identity. Over time, the brain updates its self-concept, and a new self-concept generates new defaults, automatically. The fourth principle is stop managing time, start managing energy. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi spent decades studying peak performance and found that people do their best work not when they have more hours, but when they are in a state of flow, when the challenge of the task matches their skill level. If your work is too easy, the brain registers boredom. If it's too hard, it registers anxiety. Both lead to disengagement. Look at your current work and ask honestly, where does boredom end and real engagement begin? That edge is where your growth lives. Find one part of your day that touches that edge and protect it like it matters, because it does. The fifth principle is let go of the story that you are behind. This one is not about productivity. It's about the chronic background anxiety that comes from comparing your timeline to others. The brain doesn't naturally do this. Social comparison is a learned habit, amplified by social media and cultural narratives, and it's neurologically expensive. The constant comparison activates the default mode network, the part of the brain associated with rumination and self-referential thinking. It pulls you out of the present and into a story about a race you never agreed to enter. You are not behind. You are on a different map. The moment you stop navigating by other people's roads, your own direction becomes clearer. Here's the model I want you to carry with you. Imagine a compass, old, simple, reliable. A compass doesn't tell you how far you have to go. It doesn't judge your speed. It doesn't compare your journey to anyone else's. It just shows you one thing: which direction is true north. Your sense of stuckness is not a malfunction. It's the needle shaking, trying to find your true north, the version of you that is not built from expectation or fear or comparison. The work is not to move faster. The work is to let the needle settle. You've been living with this feeling for a while now, and I think part of you already knows the answer. Not fully, not clearly, but somewhere underneath the noise you sense it. The career that will feel like yours is not the one that looks the best from the outside. It's the one that on an ordinary Tuesday morning makes you feel like yourself. You are not stuck because you are lacking. You are stuck because something in you refuses to keep walking in the wrong direction. That refusal is not your weakness. That is the most intelligent thing about you.